Welcome back, everyone. It is the weekend and you're watching the hay farm. The goal for this weekend is going to be to finish siding the front of the house. That's going to begin with placing some head wall flashing at the transition between the front wall and the porch roof, and then from there just a lot of up and down ladders with pieces of siding, because I can't really set up the walk planks or anything because the porch is in the way and it just doesn't make sense. So the only, I guess, intricacy about this a little bit is the fact that we're at the porch roof and the way the window sits above it, and also the feed for the meter and the power to the house comes down the front of the front wall. So we'll have to work around that a little bit, but otherwise shouldn't be terrible. Let's get to it. First thing we're going to do here is measure out the aluminum for the head wall flashing. Now the break is only about 10'4", and my porch roof needed to be slightly bigger than that, so we're going with a smaller size that will overlap in the middle under the window. Next, I'm putting the aluminum in the break, scoring it, and then bending it over. That way we can get it down into 3 equal-sized 8-inch strips, because it's a 24-inch coil to use for that flashing. From there, I'm doing about 3.5 inches to tuck up the wall based on where the screws are in for the window trim and the height of the window. And then it'll leave me about 4.5 inches to lap down the roof to seal on top of the shingles. From there, I'm bending up the corners a little bit to have some overhang at the drip edge on the side. And we'll move to installing these on the porch roof, which is just sliding it up underneath the house wrap and then trimming that back so I don't see that reveal anymore, and nailing them in. I'm also using some sealant under the flashing to hold it down so you can't get water driving back up under it. Next, I'm going to put in a J-channel for the siding, and I'm only going to use the J-channel underneath the window trim and nothing else, just to kind of break up the white there, but there's really no room to properly leave air gap off the shingles with the siding other than that J-channel. So I did end up drilling holes in that too for drainage, just since it is sitting kind of under the window, and being the old house and the porch, it was impossible to get it to actually slope to drain properly. So a couple holes will fix that. Here is a view on how I actually cut the siding, and a lot of times I'll take it into the shed, especially depending on how cold it is, so I can run a heater and get it a little more pliable. And I'm using a very high tooth count saw blade and pulling it in reverse. Seems to work really well. I don't get a lot of chip out or split out, and it's definitely the easiest way for me to make square cuts, to get everything to tuck in behind the frames that I built around the window. Next, we'll just jump onto the roof and start nailing some of these in and placing them. I'm constantly checking and leaving about a 1/4 inch gap behind the rabbets on the window trim and the corner posts, just to make sure that I have plenty of room for expansion in the summertime. The manufacturer claims that the siding will expand or contract up to about a 1/2 inch for the 12-foot panel, and most of my panels are nowhere near, the full 12-foot length in most of my situations. So I feel, 1/4 inch either side is more than plenty, that I'll never have an issue. So there are times where my cuts are off or my windows aren't, entirely plumb with the trim because fitting them into old openings. So I do infringe on that from time to time, but I really don't think I'll have an issue. I was cutting these about 3 at a time, just to, again, check, because nothing runs square, level, or true on this house. So a lot of times the measurement to ensure I have gap just changes ever so slightly as I work up or down the wall. I do like to check level of the siding in between these short window runs, just to make sure that everything's staying okay, because a lot of times, depending on how that frame and window is sitting on the foam, the siding does tend to pinch ever so slightly behind it, and that will affect how it's laying and if I'm keeping, you know, it stretched out and level or not. That way when I get above the window, there's no, you know, gap or lean that it makes it hard to get a connecting piece of siding up. So all in all, it's really not that bad of a process. I would say once every like 10 or 12 pieces, I'll make a bad swing of the hammer and split the, you know, the channel a little bit that I'm nailing into, but even that's not that bad. It's not very difficult to leave a little bit of gap too, so the siding is loose under the nail. So overall, you know, I would say that it's fairly easy to install vinyl siding if you just have the time and effort to do it. And, you know, it's definitely something, depending on the level of which you want to work on your own house, something you could do. So that's it. And hopefully one of these days we'll get the front of the house done. We didn't actually get to doing anything on Sunday. We kind of took it easy. Took, you know, the kids on a walk and to get ice cream. And so that's the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you on the next one.